Hi, my name is Tim Campos and I'm the Chief Information Officer at Facebook. It was a great honor to be invited to speak at this event, and I'm sorry that I'm unable to join you there live in Sydney, Australia. Sydney has a special place in my heart, as it was 18 years ago this year that my wife and I were married and we celebrated our honeymoon in Sydney. We were blown away by the beauty of the city and the harbor and the surrounding areas, and we look forward to the opportunity to return to Australia again. Today, I want to share with you a few stories from my experience, which I hope will provide you with some ideas that will help you in your roles as technology leaders. I'm passionate about this because I'm passionate about technology, and information technology is a career, having spent my entire professional life in the technology industry. I also believe that as CIOs, we have a unique opportunity within our businesses to not only drive efficiency, but help take our companies into new businesses, to take full advantage of the digital revolution that is transforming industries from commerce to transportation. Let me start by giving you a brief background about who I am. I'm an engineer by training, having studied electrical engineering and computer science at the University of California at Berkeley in California. My career has been defined in two parts. First, building technology in product development roles, and then applying technology in information technology roles. Having worked in both product development and having served as a CIO at two very different companies, KLA-Tencor and Facebook, I have found many opportunities for IT leaders that I would like to share with you today. I'd like to start by talking about the notion of the knowledge economy. Mark Zuckerberg talks about the knowledge economy as the next wave of the information age. In the knowledge economy, companies will trade and engage in the development of thoughts and ideas, not widgets and things. If we look around us, the knowledge economy is permeating everything. Tesla Motors has redefined the automobile as more of a computer with wheels, a computer that is constantly updating with new software that makes the car even better. Amazon has redefined retail and disrupted even large companies like Walmart. The value of these companies is not in the things that they make, it is in the thoughts and the ideas of their engineers. Most of the technology industry is based on these principles, but the knowledge economy is not just for tech companies. Financial services, entertainment, even transportation are all becoming knowledge-based industries. In the knowledge economy, the knowledge worker is the most valuable asset, not the manufacturing floor or even the intellectual property of the company. And as such, the productivity of the knowledge worker is the most important business objective. Gaining efficiency of your most valuable asset, your workers, allows you to achieve significant valuation. You see this within the technology industry. Now, applied to IT, there are some exceptional opportunities that this represents. But let's start with the basics. The two companies that I've led IT for are KLA-Tencor and Facebook. Both companies have knowledge workers, but they're very different. KLA-Tencor is a very well-managed company. It has survived almost 40 years in the semiconductor industry, along with other heavyweights such as Applied Materials. The company is successful because it is operationally efficient and manages everything extremely well. Facebook is a growth company. We have grown from 1,500 employees to nearly 10,000 in the time that I've been here, and had even greater growth in revenue. It is widely regarded for its innovative nature and the strength of its leadership team. Both companies have very different objectives for IT. KLA-Tencor looks to IT as a more traditional organization would. In this, the objective of the IT organization is to be internally efficient and maximize the business value that it produces. Facebook, on the other hand, thinks about IT as the driver of workforce efficiencies. One of the many contrasts where this plays out is the role of the service desk. At KLA-Tencor, the objective was to provide minimally effective support at the optimal cost. We openly claimed that there was no value in over-supporting our workforce. It diverted resources from our ability to do projects for the company that could produce other, more valuable business results. At Facebook, the expectation begins with providing exceptional service for the workforce. Support which is culturally accretive and one of the perks that the company makes available to its employees. So which approach is the right approach? Having worked for different organizations, we all know there's no right answer here. However, I can provide some perspective. The productivity of the knowledge worker is a valuable, yet undervalued objective. 5% of a knowledge worker's time can be worth 3 to 10 times the price of just their PC. When compared to the output a knowledge worker produces, it is significantly greater. The adage that time equals money is true, and this is especially true for a knowledge worker. Providing employees with a responsive support model to get them productive as quickly as possible is good business. For Facebook, This means several things. All employees get their equipment delivered and configured to them on day one. Moreover, we strive to provide to them not only fast and responsive support, but exceptional support. We provide TVs, games, and other elements around our help desk to make them attractive places to be. We pride ourselves in providing service to our workforce that is better than any service they will experience in their lives. All of this is good business for us. It optimizes the most important asset of the company. A Facebook employee's time is literally worth its weight in gold. To become good at this, however, my department has also had to optimize our processes in ways that make us incredibly efficient and effective. Our service desk has first call resolution rates well above 76%, and our cost per supported user falls each year by 3% or more, despite the fact that we're continually adding new services for employees to enjoy. By ensuring that employees have the best experience up front, we minimize the workload on ourselves later in providing support. Good support is good business all around. But there's one more benefit here. Taking care of our workforce allows us the reputational capital to do other things. For example, when I go talk to our CFO, our VP of sales, or other business leaders in the company, because all the technical services they enjoy from our organization are better than anything else they've experienced, I can bring to them ideas with credibility and help them improve their business leveraging technology. But delivering exceptional service is only the beginning. The knowledge worker needs next-generation technology to drive next-generation productivity and next-generation business outcomes. So let me talk a little bit about how we build systems. There are three things I'd like to focus on. One, how we make decisions on what to do. Two, how we innovate. And three, the unique opportunity that data represents for IT organizations. One of the great lessons I learned from KLA-Tencor is strategic acumen. The company has a very sophisticated process for determining what its investments will be. It needs this as building semiconductor equipment is expensive, and building the wrong product can quickly bankrupt the company. A key aspect of this is understanding what are the differentiating strengths of the company and leveraging these, while minimizing the effort around commodity aspects. This same approach can be applied to IT strategy. What are the differentiating business processes of the company, and what are the commodity aspects? For example, at KLA-Tencor, service was a key differentiating aspect. A KLA-Tencor product would stay in the market for decades, and it represented 3 times the revenue opportunity in service revenue as it did for the original sale. KLA-Tencor's service organization was not only a long-term revenue generator, it was also counter-cyclical, providing critical revenue and profit for the company during down cycles. Facebook's business has its own unique areas. Talent acquisition is a critical differentiating process, as is how we engage with our business customers, our advertisers. These point to critical investment areas where technical innovation can drive key differentiation. By pursuing a strategy of fully mapping the business and understanding those aspects which differentiate it, a technology leader can easily identify the critical investment opportunities that can create strategic impact for the company. But there's more. The same information can provide some insight into how solutions should be approached. Just as a differentiating business process should be invested in, so actually should be a commodity process. Things like account payable or closing the books may not be strategic assets for the company, but they're necessary processes that must be invested in. In fact, by reducing the investment necessary through automation, one can allow a business to divert more of its resources towards differentiating processes. So technology investment is not a function of the strategic priority of a business. However, technology approach is. A common objective for IT leaders is to minimize customization of their third-party software. At KLA, for example, we used to carefully manage the customizations to our SAP implementation. This is a fine objective for commodity processes. It minimizes the investment for the IT organization and the business. Furthermore, because the process is not differentiated, it is perfectly acceptable to change the process to meet the needs of the system. In the end, it will become easier to maintain for the company. At Facebook, these commodity processes are where commercial off-the-shelf solutions are best applied. We leverage Oracle and other technologies for things like financials, tax payments, etc. Our approach is to use the best technology for the job and to implement those technologies in a manner which requires the least amount of support in the long run, much like most IT organizations. However, for the differentiated business process, we have a much different technical strategy. In these areas, customizations, even fully custom-built solutions, are not just acceptable, they're preferred. We embrace the more expensive, internally developed solution as it allows us ultimate control over how we optimize and differentiate a process. It also enables us to be the most innovative, a topic I'd like to discuss in a few moments. Before I do, I want to share another important aspect of how we engage with our business partners. We're very careful not to engage in demand management, to ask them, for example, what they would like us to build. Despite the fact that even Facebook is a technology company, it's still the case that the technologists live in technology functions. We know the universe of the possible of technology. As such, we do not focus on solutions as identified by our business partners. Instead, we focus on what their business objectives are. For example, instead of being asked to implement forecasting in Salesforce.com, we want to understand that the sales organization is actually trying to meet certain product mix objectives. This allows us to bring to the table solutions which the business may not even know is possible. This allows us to innovate. Innovation is an aspect that Facebook does better than any other company that I have ever worked for. Yet the techniques that make us innovative are not secret. The source of our innovation is not just the intelligence of our workforce. In fact, many of our employees have also worked at companies like Microsoft, Oracle, even KLA-Tencor. Innovation for us is enabled through our culture, a culture that has key defining elements, and these elements may at first seem counterintuitive. I assert to you that we are innovative because of two critical ingredients. The first is that we embrace failure. It is part of our culture that failure is synonymous with learning. Each time that we fail is an opportunity to learn, and by learning we can create the capability to do things that no one's ever done before. Failure is not something to be punished. It is something to be embraced. It's okay to fail. It's acceptable to fail. Yet at other companies, the word failure is often used in the context of something to be avoided. Failure is not an option is a common phrase we'll hear. We will not fail to deliver this project on track and on budget. These commitments may sound reasonable in a business, but they're actually death to innovation. If one cannot fail, one must engage only in practices that are known to be successful. That's the antithesis of innovation. Doing what is known to work will not result in doing something innovative. And encouraging a workforce not to fail is to prevent them from thinking and behaving creatively. At Facebook, we have reinforced the notion that failure is okay all the way to the top. We have posters around the campus that would say, "What would you do if you weren't afraid? Think wrong, fail harder." We embrace failure. Our executive staff does not punish mistakes. We embrace the learnings from them. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, once responded to a question about why we allow interns to work on critical parts of Facebook. His response was to celebrate the fact that failure on behalf of our interns and full-time employees actually serves a far greater purpose of how to avoid problems without any need for a policy that prevents other interns from making the same mistakes. Essentially, if we're encouraging our full-time workers to fail smartly, we're encouraging our interns to do the same. When failure is okay, when failure equals learning, then it creates an environment where employees are willing to experiment, to try something new. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. What can be learned from it? Just like in venture capital, where 9 out of every 10 startups fail, that one successful investment can produce an outsized return that pays for all of the others and more. The second ingredient to innovation is time, white space. A workforce that is too busy will not engage in innovative activity. The reason is quite simply that they want to get their jobs done. And if they are only given a finite amount of time to complete the tasks, they'll prioritize the known successful route over the unknown. However, if you define space for innovation, if you create time, you create room for experimentation. One of the many ways we do this at Facebook is the hackathon. Every 6 weeks, we give employees 2 to 3 days to experiment on whatever they wish. There is no expectation of what actually comes from a hackathon, only that people experiment and try new things. Employees can invest their time on anything they like, from building a bar or building a new type of messaging interface. Whatever serves their interests. All of the hackathons produce positive outcomes. In addition to making people feel good about their jobs, a hackathon can produce ideas serendipitously. Applied to IT, I apply an additional approach. I reserve 10% of our investments to engage in what I like to call wild-ass bets. Investments in ideas which are not business-driven, but which are educated by business objectives. Now, the value of the 10% time is that it allows us to box the investment. 0% would result in no innovation. 100% time, would put at risk all of our investments. By limiting the investment to 10% time, it encourages employees in IT to come up with ideas that can be prototyped and experimented, to bring an idea to life. Doing so can help them take an idea from crazy suggestion to feasible investment, after which we can choose to invest further in the idea. For example, in 2012, we had the idea to use an in-memory database technology to make it easier to describe the fan bases of our customers. The idea of using an in-memory technology was innovative because at this point, most analysis was either done at a very high level or performed leveraging very slow disk-based systems. Our idea was that if we made the system faster, we could make our salespeople smarter with our customers. Sales didn't ask for this, but we thought that if they could tell our customers something that they didn't know about themselves, it would lead to more influence with those customers. Now, the experiment took about 1 month to complete and resulted in a prototype that we could show to our sales organization. When we did, we weren't sure that they would agree that this would be of value. We were fully prepared to hear that this wasn't a good idea. However, we wanted to learn from them. And when we presented the idea, it turned out to be phenomenally well received. We were not only asked to scale it for the entire sales organization, but we were given time to present it at our global sales conference, something that no internal function had ever been asked to do before. We would not have achieved this success had it not been for the 10% time. We would not have achieved it if we had only did what the business asked us to do. We would not have achieved it if we were not prepared to fail. Now, not every one of our 10% investments has been successful. However, all of our most significant projects started as wild-ass bets. And so we continue this mindset even today. Now, the story I just shared with you also touches on the last idea I want to leave you with, the incredible opportunity that big data and analytics represents for IT organizations. In this last example, we took data and changed how it was processed to create value for our sales organization. But this is not an isolated opportunity, and I'd like to share with you a few thoughts on the opportunity that data represents for you. Let's start with why this is an opportunity. The world of big data is the confluence of several important long-term trends in technology. The first comes from my last industry, semiconductors. Moore's law is the driving force behind the rapidly falling cost of technology. Now, the second trend is the internet and interconnectivity. We've gone from a world of isolated islands of data to a world that is globally interconnected. Everything is connected from my computer to my TV to the thermostat of my house. And the third trend is wireless. Mobile and wireless technology has allowed interconnectivity to extend to even mobile assets, my phone, my car, my watch. All of this data is typically latent as it's used once and then left to sit. Take as an example email. Most email is used the day that it's sent. But as time progresses, the email doesn't go away, it just lays there, sitting, waiting to be used. Yet this data has value that we can exploit. My previous example, we took data that was being used and made it easier and faster to use to help sales drive conversations. But there are more opportunities to take data that is not being used and bring it back to life. For example, we use past campaign activity by our customers to identify what product mixes work for what customers for what advertiser objectives. By doing this, we can build predictive models that suggest for a customer how they might better use the different advertising products that Facebook offers to achieve their business outcomes. A ski resort in California uses RFID tags to speed the flow of skiers through the lift lines at the bottom of the mountain. Each time they do this, they're logging what lift I'm going on, and by doing this repeatedly through the day, they can not only make themselves more efficient, but they can produce insights about what kind of skier I am. How much do I ski? For how long? How much vertical did I get? What kinds of ski runs do I ski on? They can build a much richer understanding of who I am and what I like, and then give that back to me as a product. That makes me enjoy their ski resort even more, and then they can also use that to help market products and services that are more relevant to me. All of these are small examples of the opportunity that data represents. And there's only one organization within the company that is the steward of all of this data, yours. The opportunity to create database products for your company and completely transform your business is now. Do you know what your information assets are? Do you have a strategy to unlock the potential of that data? I encourage you to spend some percentage of your portfolios thinking about the answers to these questions. Now, there's been a lot to share today, and I hope that these thoughts have been of value to you. I hope I've helped you see the opportunities that the knowledge economy represents, the importance of taking care of your knowledge workers, the opportunities for innovation, and some ideas of how to approach innovation. and the idea that data is a differentiating opportunity for you. I thank you for your time today, and I invite you to engage in conversation about these ideas. I'd love to hear from you, and I invite you to post your thoughts to our Facebook page at facebook.com/IT, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.